Thanks for tuning into Countdown. My name is Neeraj and it's not turning out to be a very good afternoon of trade because it's down. We're down about 6% and banks and financials are really losing it. 8.38% lower for the bank Nifty, and that's the principal culprit. I'll get to that in a bit. First, what's losing out aside of financials? What's coming off in the session? I think that's important to highlight. So the likes of Hindalco and metals by and large are soft. Hindalco is down about 8%. There is weakness in ICA, there is weakness in Vedanta, weakness in Tata Motors, weakness in JSW Steel. Maruti Suzuki is down on the 9%. The rally of the last 1 month is coming to abrupt halt and a very sharp pullback. Now, aside of this, there's also weakness we're seeing in stocks like Adani Ports, which is down about 8%. Strength, where we are seeing Bharti Airtel, probably the lone ranger, which is up about 3.5%. Reliance has taken a bit of a backseat today, 1436, just about 2%. So that is also looking slightly wobbly in trade. And then looking at banks, the bank Nifty, the financials should come up on your screen. Some really deep gashes that we're seeing in almost all of these banking names in the session today. So just look at their MRR function, all red. ICICI Bank, IndusInd Bank 10. Axis Bank about 9.5%, Federal Bank about 9.63%, weakness in HDFC Bank down about 8%, Bank of Baroda, SBI, Kotak Bank, IDFC First Bank, and let me not get started on the NBFCs with the kind of gashes that we've seen in Bajaj Finance. That is your story, doesn't it? Look at LIC Housing Finance, L&T Finance, some really sharp gashes that we're seeing in all of those names. One particular pocket that I want to highlight, and that's the alcohol liquor companies. Those are doing remarkably well for themselves. GM Breweries up about 15%. There is strength in Khaitan, strength in United Breweries. United Spirits is kind of okay. So that's one pocket that is really standing out in the session today. Okay, let's get in our technical experts on board. Hemen Kapadia joins in to talk about his thoughts. And Hemen, it was a fantastic call last week to give a long on NBFCs. What are you doing now that that call has played out and we are already looking at a downside on most of those names? What do you do now?
Thank you, Neeraj, for that. A very good afternoon to you. It was a pullback, Neeraj. Wouldn't expect such a abrupt reversal. I mean, it was a pullback, no doubt. Have maintained that, but okay. Coming back to what do we do with the NBFCs now? I think stay away. It's too early to short. Sorry, it's too late to short, too late to go long. But I think there are other stocks like banks and auto where I would go short. I would leave NBFCs alone because one, they are still oversold and volumes have happened at lower levels either. And the bounces, obviously, I mean, it fizzled out on Thursday itself. But I think I would prefer to stay away. They are neither a long, but definitely not a short.
Definitely not a short. Okay, never mind. My larger question would be, do you believe that the market is headed lower, Hemen?
Yes, 94 was important. 98, 80 was 50% retracement of the fall, Neeraj. We spoke about that last week also. So one, I think there could be a reversal in US markets and our markets. We just sort of doing exactly what we are doing. So we finished 50% retracement of the fall from 12,247. So has the market peaked out? Most probably, but we need to wait for a bounce to confirm the lower bottom. Technically, we formed an island reversal today, Neeraj, which is basically a bearish pattern. But yes, if it covers up today's gap in the next how many over days, then this island reversal is not valid. But if this island reversal holds, then the markets are definitely heading lower. And yes, even if the island reversal gets covered up and the market bounces back, it was a recovery. It may have run its course, but even if there's a bounce, it's not going to sustain. So post this unwinding, 92, 89, 88, I think may going to be bad. So it's a matter of time, if, when, why, what. But the underlying thing, it was a pullback, which might be over. But I believe there could be a small recovery to try and cover up this bearish gap for today, Neeraj.
Ajit, is there a trade that you would take? I mean, I'm presuming that you're not bullish on the markets. Is there a trade you would take on the Nifty or the Nifty Bank?
Yeah, good afternoon, Neeraj. So yes, for the Nifty, I believe that what Hemen was stating that we may see some pullback, but considering the kind of fall that we have seen today, I believe that the short-term moving average close to around 20 EMA, which exists around 92.40, that may fizzle out again in a day or two. So considering that, we are recommending to buy 14th May 90 to 100 put, which is currently quoted around 40, to buy at the current levels and the stop of around 120 and target of 450.
Okay. What would be that one top idea? Usually I ask you guys for two, but I'm happy if you give me just one. But that one convincing idea, Ajit, I'll come to you first. That one stock-specific trade that you would initiate at the current levels.
So I would prefer going short in Ambuja Cement, considering the rebound that we have already seen, and it has formed a fresh shorting pivot of late, and we have witnessed a breakdown from the same today. So we can go short. But Neeraj, since we have already seen a very sharp cut today, so I would recommend one should wait for any rebound because the risk to reward is not favorable at the current level. So let's say in case it again come closer to around 164 mark, then one should go short in Ambuja Cement with 170 as a stop loss and 155, 150 as a target.
Okay, but you would not initiate at the CMP, only on a bounce.
Yeah.
Okay, Himen, what about you? Are you initiating something at the current levels?
Yes, I have a short on Mahindra and Mahindra, a long on Kerala, and I have a long on call option of the Nifty 600 to play for the small bounce. But like you said, just one stock or one call, considering that it's chaos and mayhem all around. I would have a buy on Kerala Healthcare, Neeraj, at 332. We are at 331 right now. Stop loss 327, target 342. Small stop loss, small target. I believe that pharma is the one stock which is the one sector which is going to do well, and Kerala is set for a bounce. So I would go long on Kerala, Neeraj.
Okay. I wonder though, let's talk about the 2 or 3 key names today, right? Before we get in our fundamental expert in moments from now. Himen, I'll come to you on Reliance. How do the charts look here?
Well, if there was one word to describe Reliance, I'd say Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, Aquaman, all rolled into one. Because frankly speaking, if Reliance didn't do what it did, we wouldn't have gone to 98.80. And if Reliance is not doing what it is doing as of now, Neeraj, we probably would have been 9,000 or below. So frankly speaking, I am not sure how to read this. Exceptional strength, no doubt. 1500 is going to be a major resistance. 1257 is going to be the premium, is going to be the cost of the rights issue. So I believe that level will get protected. I would say it's in a no trade zone. If we take out 1495, then we see an upside. They support at 1413. So actually speaking, not a very readable chart. But if the issue is at 1257, I don't see too much of a downside, at least till the issue opens for subscription. That's when people would sort of short the future and apply for the stocks.
Okay, so watch out for this one, and then of course we'll watch out for Bharti Airtel having a good day, and some of the others as well. Actually, talk about them fundamentally too. And viewers, in a bit we'll take in some queries, but we'll make quick interactions. Parthiv Shah of Tracom joins in right now. Parthiv, so good having you. Thanks so much for just joining in. We were just talking about it the other day of having you on air, and here you are. Let's talk about the 2 or 3 pockets in a nutshell, Parthiv. It's about 20 minutes for the markets to close. What do you think about Telecom? And I'm including Reliance out there, both Reliance and Bharti. What do you advise our retail viewers to do?
Good afternoon, Neeraj, and thank you for having me on your show. Yes, absolutely. I think out of all the 3 telecom names, we've always been discussing about Bharti Airtel and Reliance Jio. And we've seen with the spate of news what Reliance Jio has done. I think fantastic way of monetizing. And more importantly, even after the Facebook deal, here they are again able to monetize the same asset at a 12.5% premium over the last deal. I think goes to show what sort of credible asset they have built in the name of Reliance Jio. So I think long way ahead, that's going to create a lot of value. But I think one good way to play the telecom sector certainly is again and again Bharti Airtel. This is one company which has fended off the competition of Reliance Jio extremely well. And again, I think fingers crossed, if something similar that what happened with Jio, if at all we see any sort of foreign interest in a company like Bharti Airtel in terms of its stake for the digital evolution, I think that would really do wonders for the shareholder value unlocking in Bharti Airtel. Nonetheless, I think we are very confident that the ARPUs which are hovering at around 130, 135, they will move towards 200 over the next 2 to 3 years, in which case I think Bharti Airtel will also do fantastically well in terms of their cash flows. So we are very confident that Bharti Airtel even from here is a very good bet to play the telecom sector.
Okay, so Bharti Airtel and Parthiv believing that that's one thing. Now, viewers, the other conspiracy theory would be that at some point of time, Bharti Airtel will also get in a global telecom player as its partner. Why shouldn't it? And what option does a global major have, technology major have, except for partnering with Bharti Airtel, and therefore maybe worth looking at too. The other thing is, Parthiv, this opening up of the liquor shops, and it's gotten up these liquor names in a bit of a tizzy today. Almost all of them are doing very, very well. Uh, the hikes in duties notwithstanding, is this sentiment strong enough to warrant a buy? Because some of these stocks have fallen as well in the last 1 month.
Absolutely, Neeraj. I think a stock like, say, United Spirits, which has fallen from its highs of around 750 levels to current levels of 540. And they're just trying to understand the fact that with all this stress that we have undergone in this lockdown, I think the first thing somebody will go out and do is not going to go up, buy a car or a very big ticket item spend. They're going to spend on things like, which help to relieve the stress. And today there was an example, there's some media reports where, some of the shops were opened and what sort of panic it was showing goes to show for sure there's going to be a huge pent-up demand in such spends. And I think one of the good ways to play is a couple of names, which is United Breweries, which is again the Heineken play through the beer market. And they are very good in terms of their balance sheet strength and the management's pedigree. And they are also going to launch a lot new products. So that is one stock that we like. Also, we like United Spirits after Diageo being the parent. Not at all worried in terms of how this company will face this COVID lockdown. And balance sheet strength has improved time and again. And going ahead, I believe that these are the type of stocks one can add to the portfolio for the consumption theme.
Okay, one quick follow-up before we get to the queries. Ajit Mishra, a stock that has fallen today a little bit and on maybe news which may not be completely correlated to itself, and that is Interglobe Aviation. Warren Buffett saying that he's gotten out of airline stocks. It was certain to bring about a bit of reactions here. I presume that's one reason why these stocks have fallen. How do the charts of Interglobe Aviation look like?
Neeraj, we are seeing consolidation in a broader range in the stock from almost a month now. So lower band which exists close to around 840, 820 and upside close to around 1080, 1100. So it has of late tested the upper band close to around, let's say, 1030, 35 in the last trading session itself. And today we are seeing a sharp decline in line with what we are seeing in the market across the board. So I believe this consolidation will continue, Neeraj, and at least in the near future. But yes, the positive thing is that the downside also seems capped. So close to around 840, 870, we have very strong support area. So in case if it retraces to those levels, one can consider taking trade. But honestly, I'm not convinced about encounters trading at current levels. We are just seeing movement. I don't know why. But broadly, the trend looks negative. So it's best to avoid airline counters for short-term trading at least.
So you want to go short also? Okay, fine, no problem. So that's the view. Now let's get in some queries going, quick ones at that, and then we'll get in some fundamental ideas as well from our experts. Okay, let me just pull out the queries from our viewers, and then we'll talk more. So here's the first one. Vishnu is asking for a technical view on Tech Mahindra. Heyman, you want to comment on Tech Mahindra?
Yeah, I believe there are results around the corner, so that would mean a small caveat. Or if they've come, I'm not aware if they've come today. So frankly speaking,
Heyman, the results came in on Thursday evening, and the stock is reacting to that.
Okay, sorry, I missed that. So 7 weeks of a sideways consolidation. Range is between 470 and 580. There is a short-term directional bias. There is support at 500. So frankly speaking, it looks like a distribution pattern to me, but the breakdown hasn't happened yet. IT has been a strong sector, which has now started unraveling with Infosys today. So yes, one, outlook is negative. Two, 1.4 crores of NSE cash market volume. This is probably the highest volume in the last 6 months or so. So it's a negative thing. Will it tank one way from here? Difficult to take that call. 500 support, 470 is the next important support. So yes, distribution bad looks bad. It might hang around a bit before it decides to go down.
Okay. Other is a technical view again that is being asked on Emphasis. Ajit, the quick 30 seconds. We are 15 minutes away from market close. So gentlemen, I would request you to try and give me some rapid fire answers. Any thoughts on Emphasis, Ajit Mishra? Praveen Matthews is asking for it.
So, Neeraj, we are seeing consolidation within this band of 660 to 760 almost for a month now. So, either side a break, one should wait. In case if you have any long position, 660 should be a stop loss. And in case if it rebounds further above 770, it can test 800 mark.
Okay, and Parthiv, we've taken this technical view on Bajaj Finance. Anand Kumar is asking for a view there. I'm wondering, there's a bit of a rally the last week on Bajaj Finance. It's given way. What do you do here with Bajaj Finance? Because, I mean, I believe that's symptomatic of what you would do with other NBFCs too.
See, Bajaj Finance, Neeraj, always got this massive premium because of the 30-35% AUM growth that it was delivering. Now we know for the fact that in a current scenario, it's going to be extremely difficult for them to come back and show anything which is close to 30-35% of AUM growth. Despite the fact in terms of liquidity, they are extremely well placed. They did have a massive QIP at 4,000. I'm not at all concerned about the fact that there is any balance sheet problem or this is a company, even if there were more spike in NPAs, will not be able to tackle it. But my concern is the current valuation and when the growth will come back is still a question mark. So at this juncture, I think I would avoid Bajaj Finance.
You would avoid Bajaj Finance, but he's not bothered about the balance sheet issues. Keep that in mind. Now, Parthiv, if you had an aviation stock in your portfolio, you heard what Buffett has said, and the gentleman has a view on a lot of things which is worldly wisdom is much better than other mere mortals. Do you think the same issues could apply to Indian Airlines as well? And therefore, would you get out of these aviation stocks or would you stay invested?
See, Neeraj, key takeaway from the Buffett statement is, howsoever big an investor he is and who we are in front of him, he is so humble enough to admit the fact that he did make a mistake. It was against his original thesis of not investing in the airline sector, and yet he did, and he was very smart enough to exit it very timely because he realized that a black swan event like COVID-19, I think, can have long-term repercussions on this particular sector. In India, we know that out of the two companies which are in the listed space, one is SpiceJet and one is Interglobe Aviation. Despite the fact that Interglobe Aviation still has some sort of reserves and cash surplus to help it stay on course for at least next couple of quarters. But that is not for what we invest into these sectors or companies into. As such, it is a very difficult sector to be into. We still don't know. There is not much clarity as to how human behavior will change, how much of more digitization is going to impact the airline growth, which we used to see at passenger growth of around 25-30%. So I think it's best at this juncture, despite the fact that crude is very low, aviation turbine fuel will still go down by 10-20%. I think I would like to avoid this counter at this juncture.
Avoid this count. But no, I'm asking if you would be invested in it, would you get out of it?
Yes, Neeraj, I think there are a lot better other opportunities in the market which can recover faster and give better returns. So if I'm holding Interglobe Aviation at this juncture, I would not mind exiting from it, converting into some other play.
Okay. Because that's the other thing. You can switch, and that's a great thing to do, maybe. Switch out of some of the weaker hands and go into some of the stronger hands as well. By the way, Varun Beverages has this deep gash. I think there's some numbers being expected today, but let's wait and watch. Somehow, this stock has just fallen off the cliff, really. 7.5 or 8% lower. It's a quality name, but has corrected quite a bit today. Parthiv, what about some of these FMCG names after what HUL has done? Could valuations correct? And which is the one which is the most vulnerable on the valuation front?
See, I think what HUL has shown was not at all healthy in terms of the trend, Neeraj. And again, they're completely right from the last quarter as well, where they were saying that there was tapering of the volume. And this quarter again was really bad. And again, going ahead, I think next few quarters, despite the fact we might have a normal monsoon, despite the fact that the Rabi crop sowing was very good, and there is expectation that, despite all the agri distress, the rural segment of FMCG will do well. But I think at these valuations of around 65 times, I think HUL is certainly looking very expensive. I'm slightly wary on even Nestle because Nestle was one of our favorite stocks at lot lower levels, 10,000, 12,000, 13,000. But now at around 17,000 odd levels, it's again quoting at around 75 multiple. And if at all there was any sort of miss in Nestle's numbers, we might see some sort of correction. Not that these are not great companies, they are still the great companies, but the current valuations and the growth trajectory that they are showing, I think is not at all impressive. So it's better to go with some of the undervalued FMCG names If one, I think, wants to go into FMCG, we like Marico at this juncture. This stock has corrected massively from the peak, again because of underperformance in key of its businesses, especially the hair oil business. But I think it's a very smart, innovative company. And going ahead, as and when things improve, with these valuations, I believe Marico looks like a more attractive bet than HUL.
Okay, results day today for Marico, keep that at the back of your mind. And we've seen what happens in weaker results, for example, when HUL does that. So it would be interesting to see how Marico behaves over the course of the next few days. But we're 10 minutes away from market close. Quickly get in some closing strategies as well. I had requested our guests for one top idea. Now I'd request them for one top closing idea, and it could well be a repeat of what you just said. So Hemen, it could well be Kadila, but if you had to give one top closing strategy, what's that?
I would have a buy call on Shriram Transport, Neeraj, HDFC, BTSV.
A buy on Shriram Transport Finance.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's a brave call, Hemen. 1% stop loss and 2% target.
Yes, they all 1% stop loss, 2% target. Yes.
Okay, but HDFC has run up today. If there is some package that comes, I think there's a media house which is doing a story about package being finalized. Maybe NBFCs could gain. Let's wait and watch. I would urge viewers not really to fall for such things. The package will come when it has to come. I think people have been waiting now for the last 2 weeks, and it's not come about. So I don't know if that's a smart trade to play. But Ajit, having said that, if I can request you for one top idea, it could well be, as I said, a repeat of what you just said or a completely fresh idea.
So Neeraj, considering the weakness in the banking space, I feel that one can consider buying ICICI put of this 330 strike, which is currently quoting at 21 with stop of around 16 and for the target of 32.
Yeah. Some other names which are looking slightly wobbly, and I think, as I said, Varun Beverages is one amongst them. Results are slated to come out tomorrow. Parthiv, fundamentally, Varun Beverages is expected to post a weak number. Which company isn't? But I mean, it's a quality name. Would you add it to the portfolio or wait for the results? Let's see how the weakness and then decide.
See, not on Neeraj. I think if you see the stock, how it has behaved ever since this COVID-19 episode, I think it has corrected massively to the tune of almost 35-40% from its peak. So it does go to show that a lot of the weakness that we are going to see in the numbers, not only this quarter, but also in quarter one, and I'm extending my stay till quarter two. Till quarter two, we are not really expecting any of these companies to post any good set of numbers. No doubt, one good thing is that whenever things open up, whatever Varun Beverages makes, which is like the PepsiCo bottling, I think they are not into very expensive items. So I think the consumption trend should come back. That's not at all a worry. And it's a strong company with a very strong balance sheet. It can take care of this stress. But if at all, after the numbers that come today and the very weak, if there is any sort of 5 to 10% fall further from her, I think then it will become very, very attractive as a consumption bet. And I would like to hold it on for the next 2 to 3 years.
Okay, keep that view for the back of your mind. Parthiv, before we thank you, one investment idea, something that you're thinking of investing, you may not choose to invest right now, you may let the mayhem pass and then decide, but a stock that you're keeping on your radar, and why?
See, I would rather give a couple of ideas. First of it would be Hero MotoCorp. Again, I think, Neeraj, this is a company where I feel very strongly that whenever things open, we are going to see this change in the consumer mindset in terms of wanting to own their own vehicle and not be totally reliant on a public transport. And that is where I feel players like Hero MotoCorp, which are very big in the rural segment, 50% of its volume comes from the rural segment, 50% from the urban segment. Their positioning in terms of the pricing for the bikes is extremely good. They have supported the dealers extremely well thanks to the cash-rich balance sheet that they have, quoting at around 4% dividend yield. I believe that one can surely accumulate such a stock in a staggering manner. So this is a good bet. Another stock that I like, and I even like the management's commentary, is Berger Paints. The management was not very necessarily negative about the outlook. Rather, he was saying that they were surprised in terms of how the demand has relatively held up well. So Berger Paints is also corrected from its peak. Oil, we know, is extremely helpful in terms of the raw materials like titanium dioxide. So gross margins are not going to be a worry. So both these companies, I think are the type of companies which can really bounce back very strong as and when the economy also recovers.
Okay, Paul, we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for taking the time out and with us. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Somebody went long on Reliance Industries. What's your advice? I think it's trading near about the lowest point of the day.
If it's an intraday call, exit. If it's a positional call, hold with a stop loss of 14.13.
Okay. Ajit, a similar call on Bharti. Somebody went how long at the start of the day, sitting on profits, take money off the table, or carry home the long positions?
Neeraj, I would recommend booking partial profit at the current levels. We have seen a very strong up move in the last 3 days. So with booking profit at the current level, at the same time, one should trail the stop loss to 520, and one should wait for 555, 560 levels, which is a record high as well.
Okay, so watch out for that as well. We haven't quite discussed the metal names. Ajit, very quickly, any index or non-index metal name that is particularly looking weak?
So Neeraj, almost all the counters are hovering in a range. So we are like seeing the similar trend. But in case if somebody wish to go fresh short, then I would prefer VEDL in comparison to the others. It has almost tested the 50 days of exponential moving average in the last trading session, and we are seeing the slide now. So any below 78 would trigger fresh, in the stock. So with stop of around 84, let's say, one can go short in VEDL at current levels with 72 as a target.
Abbott India is up about 2%. The testing kits have been approved, and I think that stock is trading close to 52-week highs for itself. So really good going. Cipla is the other one which has had a very strong move there. Vedanta, of course, is the one metal name that has looked wobbly. I think Pharma has actually done reasonably okay for itself. Okay, Chairman, let's start quickly wrapping up the markets, and then we'll take in some final thoughts from you as well. I must mark the indices first, the Nifty 50, and we start off with the stock that Ajit mentioned, Vedanta. That one has looked the weakest of the lot, down about 1.5%. Actually, giving it company are Hindalco and ICICI Bank too, so both of them too have corrected. JSW Steel looking wobbly, Bajaj Finance looking wobbly. There's weakness in HDFC, Axis Bank, Maruti Suzuki, Adani Port, you name it. And of course, on the gaining side, names like Cipla, names like Bharti Airtel, a phenomenal day of trade for Bharti Airtel really, and Sun Pharma has looked slightly strong. What's corrected? And I want to mark firstly names on the BSE 500, individual stocks which have shown a deep gash today, and Porsche and Motherson Sumi stand out like a sore thumb really. Both of them 12% lower. Motherson Sumi was 9% up in Thursday's session. I fear for the longs. I fear for the companies which people would went long in Motherson Sumi. A very savage cut on this one. L&T Finance Holdings is looking really down about 11%. JM Financial 10%. There is weakness in JSPL down about 10%. Federal Bank is 10% lower. SAIL is down 9%. Tata Motors DVR has looked weak as well. So very, very wobbly gains, wobbly moves. A lot of these names in the session. Manappuram and Muthoot have been taken to the cleaners. DLF is looking weak. So yeah, weakness across really, you would have to admit. On the small cap end, the small caps too would have been butchered today. And on the small cap end too, had some very deep gashes into a clutch of names. So I already spoke about JM Financial, but aside of that, Godrej Property is 8.5% lower. There is weakness in Voltas down about 7.5 or 8% at 67. Century Textiles has looked weak. Apollo Tires has looked weak. Just Style, the buyback has looked weak. So a lot of these names are being very, very sedate. What has done well, as I said, the liquor companies, so GM Breweries, United Spirits, United Breweries, Radico Khaitan, all of them have looked okay for themselves in the session. There is strength in, that's actually Moil has looked slightly okay, MCX looked okay, Shimano has looked okay, but those are a few and far in between really. A large portion of the markets has come off very, very swiftly in the session. This doesn't work well. Mind you, the Dow futures were already in the red. Europe is not started off on a good footing, so we'll not have a great starting queue, if you will, in tomorrow's session. Okay, let's start. Quick closing thoughts from our experts. I'll end the show with what I started off with. If we were to weaken tomorrow, Hemen, 100 points, 150 points on the Nifty. Does it open up? What kind of downsides are we looking at then?
I don't want to sound like a prophet of doom, but I believe we're going to test the earlier lows of 7,500, but not immediately. I believe there are multiple hurdles before apocalypse now happens, so to speak. So I say 9100, 8900, 8800, finally 8500 will mean the floodgates open and it'll be chaos, pandemonium, mayhem, however you put it, it's gone. But I still feel that before it implodes, it'll spend some time distributing, trying to stage a comeback. So clearly negative, but at this point in time, I would wait a bit. So I wouldn't rush into any shorts as of now because I was looking wobbly. It ended the day positive. So there are certain pullbacks left. So, and yes, the VIX has gone up from 33 to 44. Obviously, sustainability for the market is be a question mark.
Okay, what about you, Ajit?
So Neeraj, banking was the only space that we were like, gung ho last week, considering the breakout that we have seen on Thursday. But unfortunately, today, in today's fall, we have seen that it has retraced all the gains, and it is now on the verge of trend line breakdowns as well, which is close to around 19,700 mark. So again, the underperformance is going to hurt market badly in days to come, is what charts are indicating, and we do have marginal support at 92.40. For Nifty, but I seriously feel the kind of weakness that we are going to see in the banking space and the other financial counters, that's not going to help market time, putting any worry. So I feel that close to around 89, 9 and 9,000 levels is on the cards in at least in the near future.
Okay. By the way, I must say, this will be an irony of sorts, but I think Rajasthan government has probably issued an order to close down the liquor stores in Jaipur with immediate effect because social distancing norms were flouted. So, I mean, I hate to say this, but at times Indians can make a mockery of any kind of lead given to us. So, I'm not surprised at all. But anyways, my guest, esteemed guest, take a moment to thank you for joining in today and giving us your thoughts. Really appreciate your time. And as we wrap up the show, before we say goodbye, time to get you Atul Suri's view. He is a CEO of Marathon Trends now, and he believes that tech-driven companies with a strong digital presence might be the companies to bet on as the new leaders of the new bull market. Hear him out.
What are we consuming? Okay, food, you can only eat that much. Yes, we will stock houses, but you can only eat that much. You can't have 2 lunch, 2 breakfast, 2 dinners, right? So, medicine only, okay, health requirement will call you to consume medicine, but you're not going to consume double medicine, but you're definitely going to consume it. So these 2 great pockets. The beauty is that Telecom per se, the fiber or the bandwidth that is there has actually more than doubled in every household, whether it is for business or whether it is for entertainment. So the fact is that this is one product. We are absolutely doubled our consumption. History shows us that once we start consuming more data, things will change, but data consumption will not come down. So really, in absolute terms, if you ask me, if you look in your own household, your own bills, there's one thing where bills have doubled, or one thing where you're consuming today twice as much as before. And that is your internet bandwidth. And that really shows why this niche segment is doing so well. And I personally think it will continue to do well.
Okay. Just one last question. Any global charts or any global observations that have seemed interesting to you and might have a bearing on how we do as well in the near to the medium term?
I think one of the most interesting areas is the way NASDAQ has done. See, there is no getting away from the fact the US is the mother market. Today, the kind of activity that you're saying, the Fed is doing, or the proactiveness that you're seeing in the US is definitely continues to be the leader. And you've seen the good bounce in USEG. But what is most impressive is what's happening with the NASDAQ. And that is really the technology end of the market. So, as I said, this phase that we are going to go through, the phase for a few months, the issue is not about where the market bottom is at 7,500 or at 9,000. Honestly, nobody knows, because that is going to be determined by another bigger issue. The important thing is that when we talk of this, what are the sectors that are going to lead? And that new leadership where I want to be invested in, when markets revive, which they will. These are cycles. The question is, am I in them? Because the pullback or the catchback or the money that I'll make will be in those spaces. So for me, the most exciting global chart in the equity space is what is happening with that. And that really shows me that we spoke about telecom, bandwidth, businesses that are digital oriented, companies that, digitize, I think these are going to be very, very crucial. Even old companies, boring companies, which are very traditional businesses, also will become technology facing and will use more and more technology. And I think that is the next theme across sectors, across themes, the use of technology, the new reality, the new world we are in will really bring out winners. And that is where I am focusing on. So I am very, very looking with a magnifying glass into those spaces which are actually beneficiaries rather than sufferers in the post-COVID world.